My name is Zachary Scott. I'm just here to inform you about the concept of parenting, and how it affects you as an adult, as a child. Really, that's the big thing about how parenting can affect your developmental health as a child, and that can affect you as an adult big time. I feel like most good people come from good parents. Most of the delinquents, most of the serial killers, the rapists, they're having issues, and it always stems from their childhood. Something happened, either they didn't have parents and they were taking care of this crazy person who used to do things, or they're just lonely. There's a void in their heart that came from not having anybody. As a parent, it's your job to be that person. It's your job to make your child great. And I'm here to tell you, well, not how to be a parent, because I'm not a parent, just some basic concepts and the different types of parents and the different types of developmental health problems and pros and cons to developmental health in children. I will also tell you the ways to tell what kind of parent you are depending on your baby. There are 4 styles of parenting. You have authoritarian, authoritative, neglectful, and indulgent parents. The authoritative parents are pretty much the ideal parent that everyone wants to be. They want to be that good parent that produces the great children. The authoritarian parent is pretty much the it's my way or the highway type parent. They're not a bad parent. They're just really stern and strict. They're the parents that them and their children really get into quite a few arguments, every now and then, because of sometimes it may not be unfair, but the parent doesn't really care. They don't want to hear it. That's what I said. That's what's going to happen. Okay, now you have the neglectful parent, who is probably one of the worst ones, who pretty much think that everything else is much better than you. Everything else that I have going on is better than what you have going on. And there's not really much you can say about a neglectful parent. Everyone knows that a neglectful parent is pretty much just a parent that doesn't care, that you just hear, I made an accident, sorry. Then you have the indulgent parent, and those are the parents who they produce pretty bad children, because they're not a bad parent. It's the fact that they're not stern enough. The authoritative parent, they're not it's my way or the highway. They provide you with boundaries. They let you do what you want, but they give you boundaries to where you can't mess up too far, but you can still learn. The indulgent parent is like, look, I'm not going to tell you nothing. You make your own mistakes, and let's just be friends. Instead of being parents, I'm going to be your friend. And that's where they mess up at. Now, from those parenting styles, you have 8 developmental health issues, pros and cons. You got intimacy. You have trust versus mistrust, You have anatomy versus shame and doubt. You have initiative versus guilt. You have industry versus inferiority. You have identity versus identity confusion. You have intimacy versus isolation, generativity versus stagnation, and you have integrity versus despair. Each of these traits come as you age, pretty much. Trust versus mistrust come from when you're a baby. You look to your parents for guidance. The way your parents treat you as a baby, it interprets the way you view the rest of the world. You can either be, as far as your anatomy versus shame and doubt, that comes from, as you get older, you start school, and it's time to make friends. You can either pretty much be out there and be it would depend on how your parents treat you. If you had a healthy relationship with your parents, then you can make a healthy relationship with friends. You can talk to other people. Other than that, you're going to have shame. You're going to feel bad about yourself. You're not going to know how to make friends, and it's going to make you feel bad. Initiative versus guilt is when you get a little bit older and you start doing things for yourself, simply like people with good grades, people who are good at sports, the work that they put in to get what they have, that's initiative. If you don't have anything to pretty much work, you've never worked for much, you're just that average kid, then yeah, you may envy them a little bit more. That's guilt. That's all on you, and it stems from your parents not really caring much, not really pushing you to do much. You have the industry versus inferiority, and then you have identity versus identity confusion, which comes later in life, where everybody, like in your 20s, early 20s, everybody goes through that phase where you turn out to be a lot of other people before you actually settle into who you really are. If you have a healthy relationship with your parents, then actually you don't have much trouble settling into who you are. But if you didn't, not saying all people who had that problem had bad parents, but sometimes that's where it strings from. If you didn't have a healthy relationship with those parents that really took the time to make sure that your relationship and who you are were, intact, then you may have to make a few mistakes and mess up here and there before you finally realize, okay, this is who I am, and that's that. You have the generativity versus stagnation, which happens like in your 40s and your 50s, where you realize you're getting older, and hey, what are you doing with your life? You know what I'm saying? Do you have a nice wife? Are your kids losers? Did you go to college? And the stagnation is basically you didn't do that and you're pitiful. And then you have integrity versus despair, where you look back on your life. This is like your 80s, you're in your deathbed, and you look at your life and you say, well, hey, my wife is beautiful, my kids aren't losers, I have a nice job, a nice house, I've watched my grandkids come, and I'm satisfied with life. And then you got despair, where everything is the total opposite. Then from there, you can tell what kind of parent you are by the types of baby you have when they're infants. You have securely attached babies, insecure, disorganized babies, insecure avoidance babies, and resistant babies. Secure attached babies are babies with good relationships with their parents. Insecure disorganized babies are babies that are pretty much fearful of their parents. They don't know what to do because they don't know the consequences of it, whether good or bad. You have the insecure resistance babies who they just really don't want to be bothered with you, but they love you. And then you got the insecure avoidance babies who really just don't want to be bothered with you at all. But ultimately, parenting is the knit of the world. Pretty much, if you're a good parent, you will produce good kids who produce a good world as they get older. You're a bad parent, you may produce a bad child who could be the serial killer of the nation one day. Or you can either have the serial killer of the nation, or you got the President of the United States. It's all on you as the parent. So I encourage you to be a good parent and raise your kids right. You may be a good parent. I'm not saying that you are. I'm just encouraging you to be. If you are a good parent, good job. If you're not, get better. Thank you.